Tactical familiarity. This little green bar. Green bar goes up, everything's good. So why does my thumbnail say otherwise? I've spent a couple of weeks looking into familiarity, so I'm going to quickly and easily explain to you everything you need to know about it, including why my thumbnail looks like that. So shockingly, familiarity is good. There's a great video by Evidence-Based Football Manager, which I'll put in the description down below. I'm not going to duplicate his workings here, but better familiarity means perform better, win more games. So, we want to get our tactical familiarity of whatever our tactic is, we want to get it as high as we can. So how do you do that? So when we're starting a season, say, here, we've got a very basic tactic which actually has quite a high familiarity because there's not many instructions. But what happens if our awesome tactic has lots of instructions? You can see as I start to add various different instructions, the familiarity bar is just going to keep on dropping down. Maybe I set a whole load of transition things, and slowly this bar is dropping and dropping. And you know what, we're just going to do absolutely everything in the world. And also, we're going to change the style that we play. We're going to go very attacking as well. All of a sudden, that familiarity bar has really started to drop. But what happens if our complex tactic is awesome and we're committed to it, right? I had a look at maybe starting simple, maybe just starting with the basic shape and easing our precious footballers' minds into slowly feeding them extra bits of information, extra instructions to try and ease them into it. It doesn't work. The familiarity drops exactly the same as it does here in the example I've shown you. Hitting them with all of the information straight away is probably the most effective way of doing it because they're having the longest period of time to get used to those instructions rather than feeding them bit by bit and continuing to drop the familiarity. So what actually speeds it up? Well, one thing is training schedules. You can see here in the training section, when you click on a schedule, different sub-items of the schedule will have tactical familiarity as an impact. Some of them address a whole host of things like the match practice, which does mentality, passing, everything. But you can only have match practice 2 times a week, and similar with match tactics, you can have that 3 times a week. There are other options, so the attacking trainings give tactical familiarity to passing style and creative freedoms. The defensive ones give ones to pressing and marking. And again, the overall ones give some degree of tactical familiarity training to the whole range. So as you can see here, I've created a training schedule that crams as much tactical familiarity training in as possible. And we'll get to that in a second. You're also going to want good coaches. I can't find anything specific, but I would assume you're wanting good mentals and good tactical coaching out of your coaches. They're probably the ones that are going to be taking those specific elements of the tactical familiarity. So if you've got good coaches like my man Gerhard Struber here, that is going to improve your coaching and your improvement in familiarity. And finally, to improve this bottom right box here, position role duty, you're going to want to put your players on individual trainings that relate to their specific position in the formation that you want to play. So for instance here, Mr. DMAMR-C is playing right wing. We could go training, position role duty, AMR, winger, and he's on support. And we could do that for all of our players. So I made 2 sets of teams. One set with my wonderful training routine, good coaches, and individual player training, and the other team with no coaches, the default training and matches and whatever's going on, and no individual player training. First up, I looked at how long it took me to get to max familiarity for both of those types of teams. For the teams with all of the whistles and bells on them, it took 10 weeks for all of the bars, apart from the player familiarity one, to hit max. At the same time, this is what our default team looked like. It's ridiculously similar. They're just a little bit behind. And in fact, if we go 2 weeks further in time, we can see now that we're at the same level where everything is fluid apart from the positions, which seem to take a little longer to get going. So, does that 2 extra weeks at maximum familiarity, plus sort of 10 weeks being a little bit ahead in familiarity, help over the course of a season. What do we reckon? Well, it wouldn't be one of my videos without a graph, so here's a really boring graph. As it happened, the team with no training and no coaches whatsoever probably marginally did better. There's no statistical significance here. For all of that effort that you'd put into familiarity training, it's of no benefit to the end product. And all that training time that you've spent getting good at familiarity, you have wasted when you could be spending it on player development, on fitness, on other things. And that's not to say that familiarity isn't important. If you were to chop and change your tactic wildly every week so that your familiarity is always very low, then your outcome is going to be very much like the evidence-based football manager video that I've linked below. It's not going to work out. But for most of us who pick a tactic and tweak it a bit throughout the season, or generally evolve a tactic, maybe change once or twice a season, you don't have to worry about the familiarity too much at all. And if you want a quick and easy tactic to use, check out this video. Enjoy your football manager, guys. I'll catch you in a bit.